Welcome back. We are now hearing from the Internet Computer that they are promising over 1 million dApps within 1 year. But is this possible, especially if we are approaching or at the top of the market in the end of 2025? Are we going to see more development if we go into a bear market or rotate into a bear market or corrective phase into 2026? Well, in today's video, we're going to be exploring everything about the traditional financial ecosystem. We're going to look at individual cryptos and we're going to zoom out on the charts to see where we are in the cycle. Because as I've explained, this is the Bitcoin chart going back to 2020. And you can see this was the 2020 cycle. On a zoomed out chart, it looks like it happened very, very rapidly. And if we look at where we are now, right, kind of looks like we're towards the top here. You can see that at the beginning of end of 2024 into 2025, we had the spike here, right? What we like to call the Trump pump. But this really started the year before in 2023. You can see here in August of 2023, we kind of created a floor or a bottom at about $25,000 Bitcoin. Then it went up into the beginning of 2024, bringing us to about 71,000, or the previous cycle's record high. You can see that right here. This is the previous cycle's record high, and this is re-hitting the all-time record high. But this occurred in the beginning of 2024. And so now we're in the middle of 2025, the 12 to 18 month time period after the Bitcoin halving, which historically marks the top of the market. And what did we see at the beginning, end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025? We see a double top here. Major correction, and now we have re-hit another kind of potential top signal. Now, these are not exact tops, but they're very, very close, right? At the beginning of the year, we hit about 108,000, then we hit about 110,000, and now we're hitting about $112,000. But where is this whole cycle going? We're going to be exploring all of that in today's video. We're going to be starting right here with what the embrace of DeFi and Ethereum means for crypto. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. We're going to be getting into the internet computer stuff in just a minute here, but we're going to be kind of starting with the general macro view of what is going on. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Give the video a free thumbs up. That way you never miss a new video. And let's get right into today's topics. So Consensus founder Joe Lubin predicts Wall Street's embrace of DeFi and Ethereum, and this is already underway. We know that Joe Lubin just purchased SharpLink, which is a publicly traded company. It's going to now be an Ethereum treasury company. I think they're planning on buying or have already bought up to $1.2 or $1.3 billion worth of Ethereum. But the digital asset pioneer has recognized the possibility that Wall Street's renowned organizations will make their foray into DeFi and the world of crypto. He took to X the other day to share his standpoint on the pivot. And let's pull up the exact tweet here. And this was a retweet of Tom Lee, who we've covered fairly substantially on this channel. I really do like Tom Lee's takes on the market. He said MicroStrategy, Semler Scientific, created an investment class for Bitcoin treasuries. SharpLink and Ethereum's Joseph Lubin is the first for Ethereum and bridges crypto and traditional finance in a staking ecosystem. Positively enhances the layer one network, obviously. And so Joe Lubin responded saying Ethereum and Bitcoin and some other digital asset treasury strategies are the first large-scale onboarding of TradFi onto DeFi. How do we get Wall Street to care about decentralized protocols and the evolution of a more decentralized web and global economy? He said Wall Street will care about consistent number go up in instruments they can access, analyze, and invest in. They will be motivated to deep dive and learn what's up with these strategies. They will have to deeply understand the details of Bitcoin and Ethereum and the strategies of MicroStrategy and SharpLink. They will have to go deep on DeFi and Ethereum. Earnings calls and CNBC, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal interviews and pieces will be about the details of digital asset treasury strategies and how to optimize yield in DeFi while ensuring prudent risk levels. Now, we know SharpLink is going to be investing in Ethereum, and we know highly likely the Ethereum ETFs and SharpLink are going to be staking the Ethereum. So they're going to be earning a yield every single year, and then they can either buy more coin with it, or they can give dividends, or a combination of the both. He said, so how do we get Main Street to care about decentralized protocols? First, we get Wall Street excited, which will normalize it and grow DeFi. Then we build end user apps for consumers and enterprises that go beyond DeFi. We are now scalable and affordable enough to make this work. Enterprises can now use and issue tokens and participate in DeFi without concerns about the SEC and other agencies sanctioning them publicly or secretly and attacking projects via unprincipled and capricious enforcement actions. We saw that from the Gary Gensler SEC for years. And by the way, a lot of companies probably did not get involved or start developing or release their products because of this fear of the SEC. He said the best and brightest builders are now entering the ecosystem to build on our technology without fear of politically motivated enforcement actions from the SEC and being debanked. Why is it so attractive for Web 2 builders and traditional economy builders to build with Web 3 primitives? Because instead of having an adversarial and exploitive relationship with their users, they can now build of, by, and for the community. The paradigm shift to an increasingly decentralized system of the world is accelerating. And guys, at the end of the day, DeFi is the predictor because, think about it. The banks, crypto's bad, don't get involved in crypto. Meanwhile, while they were saying this, they were using it, they were testing it, and they were building their own. We know this. JP Morgan funds or funded Consensus. JP Morgan gave one of their blockchains to Consensus. And now JP Morgan has another blockchain. And by the way, they also have filed for trademarks for crypto payment services called JPMD. JP Morgan filed a new trademark that covers a range of potential crypto services for the bank, which industry commentators speculate could include a stablecoin venture. Guys, they already have their own coin. It's called JPM coin. And if they create another one, it is what it is. But again, is this going to bring value to cryptocurrency? Is this going to bring value to JP Morgan or do none of the above? I mean, if you think about, for instance, Zelle, right? Zelle is an interbank, easy money system for users. I would imagine they probably already use some form of stablecoin or digital dollar derivative because they're not sending physical dollars from one bank to another, right? And so they're probably already using these technologies that we just don't realize or don't know about. And this kind of goes into the narrative of getting you to utilize the technology without even realizing you're using it. And that will bring more value to the ecosystem. And then the valuation should follow where the value is. But where are we in the cycle? That's a big question. And we're getting to the ICP stuff in just a minute. Tron's Wall Street hopes could implode with TRX as collateral. Now, we just heard that Tron is going to be reverse merging, and this will test whether a company can treat its own crypto as collateral without collapsing under the risk. Now, as you guys know, I personally believe that we are at the end of the bull market, right? The end stages. Each of these blue lines represents the beginning of November of each year. And if you look, the beginning of November each year, in 2020, it basically indicated the beginning of the rally. And then in 2021, it noted the end of the rally. Then in 2023, it marked the bottom of the market. Then in 2022. In 2023, it marked the beginning of the uptrend, right? Maybe not the macro, but you can kind of see we kind of started moving higher quicker, I should say that. And then now in November of 2024, we also saw another major move up. And so there's a very high potential that by November of this year, we're going to be either at or peaking above the top. I just use these lines as kind of a guide. It's not 100% accurate. As you can see in the earlier cycles, it didn't necessarily show us stuff. And I've showed you the Bitcoin halving tracker, which shows us how the performance is today versus previous cycles from days since the halving. And so everything's kind of happening a little bit earlier, but these November timeframes definitely look like that is kind of the movement is in between the blue lines. And so we're about to hit a new blue line right about here. And so a lot can happen between here and here, right? It's about 3 or 4 months. But at the end of the day, even if we go up here, that's $150,000. And then we would anticipate probably by November will either be lower or that will mark the top of the market. And so going from 100 to 150 is about a 50% increase. But is it that big of a deal between selling at this level or 150,000 level? Well, for you and I, maybe yes. But if you're thinking about billionaires, the answer is no, right? Because there's no difference. If they bought in at $15,000, the macro Pico bottom down here, they don't really care about this. By the way, I just realized you can't see the dates. Now you can see the dates. So there you go. Now, there is still some bullish things that are going on, and this is something that we have to keep in mind, right? Thailand, they just approved a 5-year crypto tax exemption. Crypto income tax waiver applies to crypto sales made through licensed crypto asset providers from 2025 to 2029. Wow. Imagine they did that in the US. I don't think they will, but that would be amazing. It would really be amazing. But there's a lot of geopolitical conflicts going on right now. And this could create fear, especially if it escalates, which I really hope it doesn't. But, I'm recording this about a few days before you guys are seeing this. So I don't know if there's updates to everything. I'm just going to say the Middle East tension. This could cause a lot of fear in the markets. And this could push the price down, right? Maybe potentially just for a short period of time. But a short period of time in context could be a year. And so as we've explained, May of 2026, Federal Reserve Chairman Powell, his time as the chairman ends. So it can either be extended or they could put somebody new in. And so that gives Powell just a few months to start cutting rates. Otherwise, there's very high likelihood, and they're kind of setting the ground for that now with the president saying that he wants to fire Jerome Powell. I don't think that he necessarily will, but at the end of the term, he may not renominate him to be the chair and may get somebody else in there as the chair to lower rates. And so from around, well, let's just say before the November timeframe, we may start to see the market dropping, right, topping out. And then we may correct, let's say from September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then May, we'll probably start to hear some rumblings about Federal Reserve Jerome Powell. Is he going to be renominated? Are we going to get another nominee? And if it's another nominee who's very bullish on crypto, which we kind of know that they're going to put somebody in who is, and who wants to lower the rates, you combine those two things, that could be a very short bear market. And we could start, maybe we'll bottom out at the beginning of 2026, and then we'll just start to go higher as we approach or get a new Federal Reserve chairman. This is going to be very interesting to keep our eyes on. But really look at the macro. Like, I do think we're at the end stages of this bull market, but that doesn't mean I'm bearish on the market, generally speaking. We will correct, and we potentially are going to come down very, very substantially. What I'm going to show you a little bit later in this video is other cryptos, and we're going to look at their zoomed out charts to understand where we are in the cycle. But before we go there, let's understand a little bit more about Internet Computer, because a lot is going on there. We've been covering Internet Computer, I feel like, tirelessly on this channel. I love talking about these blockchains that have so much potential, but it's also really good to see the outcomes, right? So if you guys remember, just a few weeks ago, at the beginning of June, Dfinity hosted the World Computer Summit. Now, we covered a lot with the World Computer Summit and what happened there, especially with their AI implementation, but it wasn't just that. One of the things that we covered was that Mario Nawfal, who is the basically the biggest Twitter Spaces host or X Spaces host on X, he basically runs or founded the IBC group, which is the International Blockchain Group or something like that. And they invest and incubate and accelerate. It's like an accelerator program for startups. And basically Mario made a post about Internet Computer and said that they were sending people from IBC to go see what Internet Computer is capable of doing and to see the capabilities of the AI that then can code, write, deploy, and host dApps on the Internet Computer directly, which is pretty amazing stuff. Well, Dfinity posted this video where they actually interviewed the one of the executives from the IBC group who broke down Web3 entrepreneurship truths, saying that no luxury of specializing founders must master multiple disciplines simultaneously. I probably read that quote without the right context, so let's listen in to this video. And remember to give this video a free thumbs up because crypto is not free, but thumbs up are always free. Let's listen in.
Hi everyone, welcome to World Computer Summit 2025. I'm here with David Passini. David, tell me please, what is your background and what are you doing?
Well, hi everybody. My name is David Pazzini. I'm director of incubators from IBC Group. My background comes from token engineering and analyzing protocols, assessing them on what makes them a successful product. And in IBC Group, in the incubator, we help accelerate projects from their early stage when they need to set themselves up as a product down to making them ready for investors, for the community, helping them market themselves, and then eventually launch and post-launch address everything that they have to need.
Now I'm going to pause right here for 1 second because we are going to get into the title of the video, which ICP Promises 1 million, because this is really important to understand. But what I want you to see here is what is different than in the ICP ecosystem than we see in other ecosystems, where they're having outside investors come in. So it's not all Dfinity building the investment group and building the developer group, because if it was only Dfinity doing that, you don't have outsiders that are pushing them to do more, pushing them to accomplish goals. If we look at other ecosystems, for instance, Cardano has a self-funded incubator called Project Catalyst, and they were paying out hundreds of millions of ADA over the last couple of years to incubate projects. Also, Emergo, which is one of the entities of Cardano, was basically set up to help accelerate these projects. But nothing is built on Cardano, really, that people are using. And a lot of the things that people want built, like cross-chain interoperability and more DeFi protocols that actually connect to other blockchains, there's none of that. So all this money has been kind of getting pushed out internally with no actual value add to the ecosystem. And getting a group like IBC Group to come in, like they're looking for projects that are actually going to create value, that are actually going to deploy and be able to make money and create businesses. That's what they're looking for. And so somebody like this, like he's looking for these projects, and then if they start funding them, they're going to make sure that they're actually doing things and releasing projects and actually accomplishing what they are paying them to do. This is like with any business. I talked to somebody who wanted to like create I don't know, they were just talking, but I don't know whether they actually meant it, but they were like, oh yeah, I'm looking for investments for this business. I'm like, okay, are you going to quit your job to like go do this business? Like, no. I'm like, so what are you going to do with the money? Like, you can't just take the money and pay yourself. Like, you have to take the money and go build. You're not going to get paid until you start making money, not from the initial investment money. The initial investment money is for the business, not for you. And so if you're not going to quit your job to do this, why would I invest my own money if you're not even fully committed to it, right? Same thing here with these incubator groups. Let's continue listening in.
Amazing. So what made you explore the ICP ecosystem, and what opportunities you see here?
I'm very happy to see in the ICP ecosystems the fact that we don't only see crypto projects, projects that base themselves on hype, on the current meta, but projects that actually use the technology, the blockchain technology. They don't necessarily need to be crypto ones, to create a good business, an efficient business. And that is very beautiful to see, because that's how the technology should be used in the first place.
Okay,
and you guys heard what he just said. He said they're not looking for projects based on hype. They're looking for projects that are actually going to build and create more value for the ecosystem. And this is what, I mean, every investor should be looking at, including you. Like, you're an investor if you're investing in crypto. And so if these crypto projects are not doing things to increase the value of the ecosystem, again, not just based on hype, what did we see during this cycle? We saw Solana dealing with all this meme coin craze. And that was basically just hype, right? That was all that was. It was just hype. Let's continue listening in.
Do you see any synergies between the IBC group and ICP ecosystem?
Definitely, because we work at two different stages. I know that ICP Hubs works a lot in the very early stage of projects, where we're more towards the mid and late stage, where we can really help them refine themselves and push them out with a strong promotional muscle. And therefore, I see ourselves working together with the projects that you believe have the most promising future, and we can help elevate them to community and launch and push.
And by the way, IBC Group, they are investing in these startups, but this is the first time I've seen them at one of these major conferences for, like not a top 10 or top 20 crypto. We're talking about Internet Computer, but the capabilities of Internet Computer are wild. And we're about to hear from Dominic, the founder of Dfinity, chief scientist at Dfinity, who is promising some pretty big stuff in just the next 1 year. And this takes a lot of work. This takes a lot of partnering and networking and showcasing what you're trying to build, and then getting the builders to start building those products. And then, like you hear here or heard here, like the Dfinity grants are probably just for startup grants to get them off the ground. Then you have these guys coming in when they're closer to launch, right? And they're looking for companies that are going to build real products for real people, real customers, real companies that are going to enhance the overall ecosystem and make money, right? Let's continue listening in.
Amazing. So, given your expertise, in the area and experience overall, do you have any advice for the founders building in ICP ecosystem?
Definitely. I mean, building like a crypto or blockchain project, you need to be a well-rounded founder, which means you need to be technical expert. You need to be good at bringing in investment, because you need the money to develop your product. You need to be good at selling to strategic partners and to the community. And you need to do everything together at the same time. You cannot ignore a single aspect, because eventually, if you don't have investors, you cannot develop it. You don't have community, you don't have users, and therefore you don't have a product that is going to be used. So you need to be a round business person. That would be my advice to everybody.
And that's a holistic approach. And exactly what he's saying, we're seeing with these other projects that, have promised the world. What have I told my viewers about Solana for years on this channel? We've talked about how Solana does have some promise because the billionaires are pushing it. But if you really look at what Solana created this cycle, meme coins, that's it. The Hawk Tua coin, think about that. You're like, oh yeah, the Solana is the best coin in the world. And it's like, you realize all the celebrities launch their coin pump and dumps on Solana, and including the Hawk Tua coin. Did you buy any Hawk Tua coin? They'll be like, what? I'm like, so you don't even know about the premier coin that was launched on Solana called Hawk Tua, and you're saying Solana is the best ecosystem? How could you not know about that? Anyway, you guys kind of get the point. But if we think about it, right, they were not, at least my viewpoint is that they were not looking holistically at this ecosystem. One of the things that I love about Internet Computer is they are thinking very holistically, meaning the whole ecosystem. They're focused on the technology. They're focused on the back-end integrations. They're focused on the capabilities that are in the future, like what we were just talking about with Caffeine AI, which was launched at this event. Caffeine AI is not on-chain, right? The large language model is not on-chain yet. But it seems, based on what the developers are stating, that's just because this is the first iteration and they are seeing how it works. But there is definitely plans to put everything on chain at some point, including large language models. And I believe that this is part of the reason that we saw the recent WebAssembly upgrade and storage capacity upgrade for the smart contracts so that this can actually be implemented. And again, the vision starts small, but then it continues to grow, and you start to see more development, more companies, more investors, more money, more developers, more investors, and then the users start coming, and then the companies start coming, and then the back-end integrations start coming. So it starts really small, and it starts to grow and grow and grow and grow, and you keep adding more and more elements to it. And this is what Internet Computer is uniquely set up for. And they're pinpoint focused on what their goals are. And this is where Dominic comes in. Dominic, the founder and chief scientist at Dfinity, the main developer behind Internet Computer, said on X, our internal target is for Caffeine AI to build more than 1 million decentralized applications on the Internet Computer within 1 year of launch. We will aim higher, though. Whoa. So let's break this down, guys, right? Because we've heard other projects say we're going to have thousands and thousands of apps. They have none. We're going to have millions of users. They have none. First of all, he's not saying that they're going to build 1 million apps that are going to be used and launched. They're going to build 1 million apps. And I think that this is really good proof of concept, right? I don't anticipate they're going to have 1 million apps that are going to be widely used and distributed and integrated into people's companies and stuff like that. But by them creating 1 million apps, and maybe I'm wrong on that, by the way, maybe they are literally going to create 1 million apps that are going to be used by people around the world. But I think that's a very high number in a very short period of time to get that kind of usage. But it creates a proof of concept. You want to create a hotel booking application? Boom. Here's 3 different things that we built within 5 minutes. How do you want it to be? How do you want it to look? How do you want it to interact with the customers? All of this stuff we can program in. You want to create a website? Here's 30 different websites that you can choose from in just our examples of what was created in 30 seconds using Caffeine AI. Oh, you want a food delivery service better than DoorDash and better than Uber Eats? I don't know if that's possible. Well, I guess their bars are so low, Uber Eats and DoorDash, that you could probably create another one fairly easily that's better. But anyway, we're not going to get into all that. But let's say you want to create a food delivery app. Here's 5 food delivery apps, and one of them was actually tested in a small market, so you can actually see the data, right? And by the way, these are all just examples of what they could potentially do in a year if they have 1 million apps. They can just market like crazy to companies and businesses. And I want you to think about a company like Salesforce. Salesforce is like a I don't know. They have a lot of employees. They have a whole community and ecosystem of decentralized builders. I remember I met somebody once who I always saw him reading books, and one day I said to him like he would just be like in random spots reading books, like laying on the grass in the middle of a sidewalk, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he said that all he was doing for that year was learning how to be a Salesforce, I don't know, trainer or something like that. And he said basically for you to code, like for a business to trust you to code their programs into Salesforce, you have to become a Salesforce level 8 trainer or something like that. And it's all self-funded and self-done. And he said, I'm doing this because there's only a few people in the world that have this kind of, engineering tier in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm like, whoa, it's pretty interesting stuff. But Salesforce is effectively the same type of rollout that I think that we're going to see with this kind of technology on Caffeine AI and the ability to build on Internet Computer. Companies outsource to Salesforce to run their company's customer, their customer management system. And they rely on Salesforce to do all the backend integrations, all the engineering, all the, whatever they need, and they just expect it to work. And it all runs on Salesforce's servers through their programs, through their customer service, through their support, and all the money kind of goes through Salesforce, right? That is really, really big. And to me, it seems like that's kind of what they're building here, right? The decentralized Salesforce. And so if Salesforce can do this from a centralized perspective, just building basically one type of product, right? A customer management system. Well, why can't Internet Computer build these things for companies? Build, websites, build apps, build booking app, whatever you need, they can do. And so if they have 1 million apps that are built, which I feel like could be it literally takes 30 seconds to a minute to build an app. And maybe they'll have higher level teams that build even more extensive apps. And then they have this basically like a customer presentation where a customer wants, to be able to build and be able to adjust and things to be secure and all this. They can do it on the Internet Computer. And Internet Computer will have a guide of 1 million different apps that can be potentially created and deployed on the Internet Computer. I think that's revolutionary because we're not seeing this with any other ecosystem. They're pinpoint focused on what they're trying to accomplish. And by the way, we're seeing more being built as all this focus is on AI. Solana is coming to Internet Computer. They're going to be installing or have already installed a Solana RPC canister. So basically a smart contract that can then go and read and write on another chain. So more interoperability, more ability for developers from other ecosystems to bridge over to Internet Computer and utilize these capabilities and technologies. I don't view Internet Computer as like a siloed blockchain, like its own blockchain that is just going to be doing AI and every other blockchain fails. I view Internet Computer as the interoperability layer for this compute capabilities, for AI capabilities, for blockchain hosted apps and websites and programs. And by the way, potentially AI as well. And that's what we're starting to see, right? We've already heard that Hedera is going to be using Dfinity's AI capabilities. And Internet Computer potentially is going to be hosting a lot of this. So it's already starting. And by the way, we also covered this last week, Liquidium, which is the first liquidity or major liquidity provider building on the Internet Computer. And just this past month, it marked a major milestone, the first true cross-chain loan in crypto. They borrowed Tether on Ethereum and collateralized it by native Bitcoin on layer 1. No centralized bridges, no centralized wrapping, fully decentralized. Foundational leap for DeFi. And it's all built on the Internet Computer. If you go to Liquidium's website, you can see you could swap Bitcoin to runes. We hear Cardano keep talking about they're going to be the premier DeFi layer for XRP and Bitcoin. They're not even there yet. I mean, I don't get it. They're not even there yet. Internet Computer is there. Internet Computer is already the DeFi layer for Bitcoin because it's already built. The bridge, the chain fusion bridge to Bitcoin. And so you can swap these NFT or ordinals or runes, whatever they're called. I'm not in the NFT space, so I don't really know. But you can swap Bitcoin to runes on the Internet Computer. It's all built within the Internet Computer. You can see here on their website all of the things. So it says, like, what is Liquidium? Liquidium is a leading peer-to-peer borrowing and lending platform on layer 1 Bitcoin. It was the first Bitcoin DeFi application. Borrowers can borrow Bitcoin against inscriptions, ordinals, runes, and more. Lenders can lend out their Bitcoin to earn interest at a yield. This is facilitated securely through partially signed Bitcoin transactions and discrete log contracts on all layer 1 Bitcoin. I'm trying to see where they don't really talk too much about Internet Computer on this. But if you go to their main website, which is Liquidium.fi, hold on, let's go there. If we go to Liquidium.fi, you can actually see that borrow beyond borders, unlock the full potential of your assets. And you can see here kind of how it works through the different ecosystems. I'm getting to the point where it says Internet Computer. Powered by chain fusion technology, our secure intermediary-free backbone is enabled by Internet Computer's chain fusion technology, decentralized, trustless, and secure. I'm not really sure why Liquidium doesn't highlight more that they are running on Internet Computer, but it may be because they want a backend integration and they don't want it to be like, well, this is Internet Computer, because then people may not use it. If it's just a premier Bitcoin DeFi layer, people will use it while the backend is on Internet Computer. And anyway, if we look at Liquidium's actual usage, you can see the total Liquidium volume on Bitcoin is 4,200 total Bitcoin. That's the volume. The current day's volume is about just a little bit over 1/3 of a Bitcoin, which is about $35,000. It's not terrible, especially for like a new ecosystem built on Internet Computer that a lot of people are not necessarily using just yet. But we want to see growth and we want to see building, because if you build products that people need and would want, especially with what else Internet Computer is building across the board, I think this could be extremely big for not only ICP, but also for these platforms. You can see here, you can borrow, lend, swap, and more. And you can look at all of the percentage yields. So you can see by max APY, some of these are not going to be big, but you can see like Bitcoin Puppets, which I guess is NFT, you can get up to 150% in yield, annual yield. Taproot's Wizard, 150%. I'm guessing this is just because it's very, very low float and very low liquidity. But I don't know. It's a little odd that they were trying to bridge ordinals and runes. Like, these are NFTs. I don't necessarily know people are going to want to cross trade them on different platforms. But maybe this is just proof of concept. This is just proof that you can actually interact with Bitcoin's DeFi ecosystem through the Internet Computer's capabilities with chain fusion cryptography. And so, yeah, generally speaking, guys, I am very bullish on Internet Computer and all the capabilities that they have. And that brings us back to where we are in the cycle, right? Where are we in this cycle? Because it's a very odd cycle that we're in. People keep saying that we haven't hit the bull market yet, or they're saying when the bull market starts. It's like, we're towards the end of 2025. We're in 12 to 18 months since the Bitcoin halving. This is the top of the market, right? We may not be at the tippy top, but we're at the top. I mean, look at Solana when we zoom out. This is the previous cycle, the major run up, and then the major run down. And people are anticipating this same exact chart to chart out, but higher. And that may not happen. I mean, we've seen a steady upflow, a floor getting created, and then another upflow. And this upflow in end of 2024 into 2025, it's already come down 50% at least in Solana specifically, but a lot of other altcoins as well. And so a lot of people are anticipating, oh, Cryptoviser, we're gonna the parabolic run, we're not even going to remember this drop. Yeah, that may happen. But there's also a likelihood that it doesn't happen. I mean, if we look at Tron, which we covered at the beginning of this video, right, going to a SPAC, this chart does not necessarily look toppish or look like we're at the beginning or end of a bull market. If you look at Tron, it's been a nice steady upflow over the last few years. This actually, yeah, this is from 2017. So we haven't really seen any major spikes. I mean, maybe the major spike happened after the Trump pump, because we realized that World Liberty and the Trump family do have a relationship with Justin's son. I don't know what kind of relationship. It's just business, just friendly. I don't know. But that's kind of when we saw this major spike up. But even if you remove this little blip in the chart, it is still a fairly steady move to the upside. We're not seeing violent spikes like this or violent spikes like this. So maybe Tron as a general investment could be good, because it's not moving the way that we saw Solana with all of this volatility. Every time you see these major spikes or wicks to the upside and then a harsh drop to the downside, this should tell you people are selling into the market. And so you don't want to be at the bottom here and say, oh shit, everybody just sold, now I can't take any profits. You need to anticipate when the reversal will happen. And typically the reversal occurs right after a major move to the upside. And we're not just seeing that in Solana, we're seeing that Cardano as well. Cardano, look at this cycle compared to last cycle. And there's Cardano maximalists that will say, but Cryptoviser, that means that we haven't even entered the bull market. kind of like with the idea that the market owes it to Cardano to go higher, but it doesn't. It's based on fundamentals. It's based on what the market is actually looking at, what the fundamentals of the chain look like. There has been significant dilution in Cardano over the last 5, 6, 7 years because of more coins being entering into the ecosystem through staking, through Project Catalyst, through whales selling. And there's people who've been holding that have never taken a profit, and they may never get an opportunity to again. Because I just did a whole other video on Charles Hoskinson's warning to the community. And he basically confirmed that USDC is not coming to Cardano, that Tether is not coming to Cardano, that DeFi is not growing, staking not growing. And this is a huge issue because while people like you and I are analyzing the market and analyzing the fundamentals and the metrics and the data of the market, a lot of people in that community are putting their fingers in their ears and saying, Cryptoviser, we're not listening to you. You're just a fudster. And they're going to lose big time, big time. Because now, I mean, we're lower than we were when I made videos about USDC in 2024. And we're now a year and a half later, and we're lower in the price. And so there's a lot of coins like Cardano. Cardano's not the only one. I mean, what has the Dogecoin narrative been this cycle? There's been basically none. I mean, they even named the Department of Government Efficiency Doge purposefully, right? And there's been no movement on Dogecoin. There's been no integrations or implementations or talk about it. I mean, at least in the previous cycle with Dogecoin, we got Mark Cuban to allow Dogecoin purchases at his at the basketball games. What is it? I don't remember what his basketball team is, but we haven't really seen moves since then. And look, the all-time high has not been reached from the previous cycle in this cycle. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's because we haven't hit the top of the market yet. But I look at this and I say, I think we already hit the top of the market. Or if we're not at the top of the market, how much higher are we going to go? I mean, look at this. Major pump and then dump. Major pump at the beginning or end of 2024. I mean, we gave everything back. And so this is going on with a lot of different cryptos. Even if we take a new crypto like SWI, this launched in 2023, right? A nice little bowl here, This could be maybe a cup and handle pattern right here. And then boom, straight up into the beginning of 2025. Gave it all back. And now we're getting lower highs, which is an indicator that we're towards the end of the cycle. Now, there is a thesis that we're only getting lower highs here because the market is kind of getting ready to move into the final stage of the parabolic banana zone, as some billionaires call it. But that is an assumption. The same way that people will say, oh, well, Cardano is definitely going to hit its all-time high. Or, oh, Solana is definitely going to go back up to its all-time high again. It's like, no, it already did. And some people took profits, but apparently you didn't. And so because you didn't take a profit, we have to hit all-time highs again so that you can take out your profits. It's the same thing like the extended cycle conversation. Like in June of 2026, everybody's going to wake up one day at the same exact time and very orderly go to your accounts and sell all your crypto, because that will be the top of the bull market. That will be the extended cycle. And everybody's going to do it. It's going to be very orderly. We're going to see no major price crashes, and everybody's going to be able to get out. That's not how this shit works, right? When everybody's going for the door at the same time, cratering in the price. That's what we're going to see, a cratering in the price. And so this is for a lot of these cryptos here. There's a lot of cryptos that are going to be entering the top 10, entering the top 20, or they're going to maintain their position in the top 10 or 20. But there's also a lot of coins in the top 50 coins that are going to go down and never come back because they blew it. They blew their opportunity. Whether it was through hype, whether it was through false promises, whether it was through failed partnerships, or whatever. There's a lot of ecosystems out here that have been promising things for years and years and years and years and years, and they can't accomplish it. Not even to a small degree of what Internet Computer has been able to do in just a few years and a failed launch. And so there's a lot of money to be made out here, guys. We can clearly see Ethereum is going to get the narrative that it has not gotten this cycle just yet. And Wall Street is going to help push that along. And banks are already using Ethereum and Ethereum DeFi and testing on it and connecting their blockchains to it. And Ethereum and the layer 2s on Ethereum are the number one stable coin. It has the number one stable coin activity compared to any other blockchain. And so I'm moving back to the fundamentals. That's what we've been talking about all year this cycle. There's a lot of people who still are basing their thesis on hope and prayers. And hope and prayers are not going to help your portfolio if you keep going down 90%. You know, there's certain points in the market where you need to really look at your portfolio and maybe adjust. I told you guys before FTX collapsed, 2 weeks before on this channel, I posted a video and I said, guys, the market is in this kind of weird zone right now. And I think something's about to happen because the top of the market was November of 21. And so the thesis was that 1 year from there, we would hit the top of the bottom of the market. But we weren't really at the bottom of the market in like October of 22. But I told my viewers in October of 2022, yeah, you can see here, we were towards the bottom of the market. And I told my viewers about here. Let me zoom this in so you can see it better. I told my viewers at the end of 2022, it was like November. I said, you guys may want to reallocate some of your portfolio or get out of positions because we were dropping hard. I mean, we went from $70,000 to about $20,000. And I said, listen, guys, some of these altcoins you may want to get out of. You may want to reposition them or just be prepared for something major to happen. People are like, Cryptoviser, we're at the bottom of the market. How can you tell us to sell our crypto at the bottom? What happened 2 weeks later? Boom. FTX goes down. Massive cratering the price of crypto. But it didn't last that long, right? The Bitcoin price only really stayed low in the end of 2022. Where are we? We got to go a little further. At the end of 2022, you can see Bitcoin, when I gave that warning, was in the $20,000 range. And then we, boom, hit down to 15,000. And many altcoins went down much harder. That's when we started to buy. And it only stayed that low for 3 months. People had 3 months, but they were so distracted by, oh my God, is FTX going to come back? Oh, is Celsius going down? Or is Binance going down? Or is Grayscale going to go down? One of them is going to be next. So we're going to go lower. And I'm like, no, FTX was the capitulation point. And we saw it coming. We didn't know it was going to be FTX, but we knew there would be a capitulation. We may be in that same cycle this year, but I think that we're going to be in that more in 2026. And I think that a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies are going to be the catalyst to the next like capitulation point, I guess we could call it. But there's still a lot of opportunity to make money in the market. I just am not so sure that we're going to be going much, 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 much higher. And generally speaking, preparing for a reversal at some point. When that happens, I don't know, but it's going to happen. And there are a lot of gems out here that we could still be in. You know, I think Ethereum is a good play for the longer term. I'm not saying own it. I'm just saying, you know, especially if we go into a bear market, that could be a great opportunity to buy at much lower prices. Tron is another one to keep an eye on. Internet Computer Protocol as well. And there's many more. Let me know what you guys are doing in your portfolios. Let me know which cryptos you think should be held in portfolios in a bear market. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. And let me know, do you think that Internet Computer will have 1 million dApps within 1 year? See you guys in the next video. Invest responsibly and crypto on.